always catches me on a really like a really moment when I'm moving around and it's like the worst shot ever. Hello there and welcome to the podcast. So today I am joined by the lovely Louise. So thank you so much for joining me on the podcast.
You are very welcome. It's good to be here.
How are you today?
I'm really great, thank you.
We've got straight into it.
We're cracking on.
There's been no time for pleasantries. It's just in and let's go. So I'm looking forward to hearing more about more as everyone else says. So, are you ready to get into it?
I am.
Okay, so
I feel like this is mastermind.
What's going to happen? What's going to happen? I won't score you, don't worry. So, just start with telling us a little bit about who is Louise Walker.
Who is Louise Walker? Well, generally it's only my mum that uses my Sunday name of Louise, so most people call me Lou. And Lou is, as well as my kind of passion for wellness, yoga, Pilates, sound baths, all that kind of stuff, my other passions are dogs, horses, eating cake, and therefore, because I like to eat cake, I have got quite good at baking.
Wow.
Because if you're going to consume the calories, you need to kind of make sure that it tastes spot on.
That it's worth it.
That it's worth it. So it's got to be gooey and make it worth it. And I also like to do kind of crafting and stuff like that, sewing, but I generally, in the last few years, with running a business, that kind of thing has gone a little bit...
Gone by the wayside.
And I used to have a horse as well, but when he sadly had to be put down, then I haven't had another one since, because I felt like I couldn't really kind of dedicate the time totally to that, because you kind of got to put them first all the time, while I was kind of trying to run a business, really. So
wow.
But hopefully at some point in the future I'm going to have a little bit more kind of time to focus and have a little bit of balance. Because there's nothing like kind of getting out in the air, having a little blast.
Do you still ride though?
I haven't ridden for a few years, and mainly it's just because kind of time and money. If you've kind of not got your own, it's quite expensive to go and pay to ride somewhere, and generally you're kind of not really doing your own thing when you're paying someone else. You're either riding around an arena, which I find quite boring, or you're kind of trotting along in a group and not really doing your own thing. Whereas when you've kind of had the freedom of doing your own thing, you kind of just want to get on with it a bit, really. But
it's not the same.
It's not the same.
Oh.
It's not the same.
So how long ago did you...
So it's about 5 years since my little Gingin was put down. Bless him. It's kind of... It's like one of those things where you kind of never intended to give it up, but then you kind of can't...
Situations
kind
happen.
of be half in with something like that. You've got to kind of be able to dedicate time and to turn up when they need you, regardless of kind of what else is going on. And, when you're kind of also committed to turning up and, delivering classes for people at a certain time, doing other things, then it's hard to do that, really.
But you've got your doggy.
I've got my doggy. He's going to be in the good, the bad and the ugly, I'm afraid.
Oh, God.
We'll come back to him.
Aren't they all? So that's given us a little bit about who Lou is.
Yeah.
I'll try not to say Louise, who Lou is.
Don't worry, I don't get offended. It just feels a bit like, have I done something wrong when someone calls me Louise?
I don't want to use your Sunday name. But tell us a little bit more about Lou Walker in terms of wellness, Lou Walker.
Yeah, so wellness with Lou. I know there's a question about how we got there. Do you want me to do that first?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah,
whatever.
So I, for my sins, spent quite a long time working in business, in an office, in finance industry. So I worked for the Derbyshire Building Society for years. I worked for Experian for a few years. And it was all kind of around mortgages, savings. And then in Experian, it was kind of about any lending.
Right.
How can I say it without being rude? That I'd got absolutely no interest in doing it. And, you kind of fall into these things. I originally wanted to do something either with horses, with dogs, or with yoga and wellness. And then kind of thought, I'm not sure you can actually earn enough to live off.
Yep. So I'll go down the corporate.
So I'll go down the corporate
road.
And I started off in retail and moved on into finance, and then you kind of get trapped into that world, and you kind of sit there and think, I either need to make a break from this now, or I'm going to spend the rest of my life doing something that I'm not interested in.
Yeah.
And weirdly, because I think possibly because I wasn't truly passionate about it. Actually, it kind of made me better at my job because of the fact that you could view it more dispassionately and more logically.
Yeah.
Which, means that the irony of it, I kept getting people headhunting me all the time.
You ended up being really good.
Well, yeah, I ended up being really good at something that I got no interest in whatsoever. And I think I got no interest in it mainly because of the fact that it was kind of making other big businesses loads of money.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really helping people on an individual level. And that's kind of obviously the dream, to work in a job where you feel really passionate about it.
Yeah.
So I kind of had got to the point, not only was I not really interested in it, but I was doing kind of 3 people's jobs, working God knows how many hours a week, kind of really stressed. My body and my mind were fairly broken because, at that point I was kind of riding quite a lot. So I was kind of sitting in a chair, sitting in the car, riding a horse. And the thing that actually kind of tipped me over the edge physically was I'd got to the point where I was kind of almost stuck in an office position and I was kind of riding down quite a busy road and I was trying to turn to look at the traffic and I felt like I couldn't twist and turn, and I was like, right, okay, I'm like an old lady and I'm like 35 or whatever I was at the time.
Yeah.
And then so I actually started doing yoga again. I went back to it. I'd done it kind of in my early 20s. I went back to it from the kind of physical point of it. But I kind of noticed a really dramatic difference very, very quickly physically. But the other very grateful and needed kind of part of it was that I felt so much calmer and mentally better able to deal with challenges of, having kind of 10 million people waiting at your desk when you got back from a meeting and somebody ringing you on your landline and on your mobile about 50 emails that have just appeared in the last hour, and then people standing at your desk, the instant messenger as well. And I was like, who keeps inventing all these different ways to contact me? Because I can't stand anymore.
Sometimes I want to be uncontactable. Unplug me.
Yeah, so I kind of got to the point where I was like, I know I need to make a change. And I think because of the fact that it did impacted me so dramatically in a great way, I felt like I needed to go and bring the benefits of that to other people. And I think having been on the other side is a kind of great kind of marriage now of knowing what the average person is going through in their everyday life, being so stressed trying to do 5 million different things, and then knowing how I can help them and how much of a difference it can make if they actually start to look after themselves.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I got into the wellness world. I actually had a yoga studio for a while, but it was part of a franchise and I opened it at totally the wrong time. So it was kind of just about a couple of months before COVID that I found some premises. And I'd, not to bore you all with the disaster of this episode, but the kind of timing of me signing my lease on some premises was like 10 days too late to get one of the grants that happened. And obviously for quite a long time we were closed and I'd got rent to pay and all that kind of stuff. So it was an absolute nightmare, and it was kind of a perfect storm of everything that could go wrong, going wrong in one go.
Yeah.
So I ended up in a bit of a mess financially from that. And also it was kind of not really in the right area. It was quite restrictive in what you could do. And I think the world has moved on a little bit since COVID in terms of people's attitudes. And I think what we were delivering as part of that franchise was kind of quite, you're going to go at it, you're going to keep pushing yourself to try and improve. And I think pre-COVID, everyone was a little bit, no pain, no gain. I'm going to go to work all day, then I'm going to go and spend 2 hours in the gym. I'm going to sweat it out, then I'm going to go home and do 3 hours work at home. And COVID made people stop and go, I can't live like that anymore. Yeah,
and we don't have to live like that anymore.
And I think, most people at that time were kind of asking for the slower stuff, the more meditative, the sound baths. And those were the things that were kind of doing really well. But I wasn't really able to offer that as part of that franchise. The other thing about that is that yoga is brilliant for everyone. there are a small proportion of the population that are over flexible.
Oh,
so
that's definitely not me, as you'll notice as I reach for my coffee.
So I wanted to help those people do a bit of strength work, but again, that was outside of the scope of what I was doing.
Yeah.
So in the end, I decided to move away from the yoga studio to work so that I am totally in control of what I'm delivering.
Yeah.
So now I offer kind of Pilates and yoga and sound baths and other kind of wellness events. And I think for a lot of people, doing a combination of those different things is really beneficial. But if people haven't got the time to do both, then I can direct them to something that's more appropriate for what they need.
Right.
And it also depends, I guess, what people are coming at it from, whether it's all about strength and their physical ability, in which case Pilates is probably more for them.
Yeah.
If it's all about your mind and de-stressing, then yoga is probably the way to go. But I enjoy the fact that I've got a kind of a more rounded offering that I can give to people. And also it makes it more interesting for me, because obviously just doing the same thing all the time, it doesn't matter if you love it or not, will get boring eventually.
It's a nice mix.
You know, having a mix of different things means that, you know, I'm always enthusiastic about what I'm doing. And I think I did, when I had the yoga studio, I was doing too much of one thing, and you get a little bit like you're kind of thinking to yourself, how many times have I said this week, the same thing? And one, it's now getting boring to me, but it must be boring to the people that are coming as well. So, you know,
a bit fatigued by it.
A bit fatigued by it. And I think, you know, the more of a mix and not going crazy and doing too much of the same thing all the time means that you can remain kind of passionate and fresh about it. And therefore, you know, what you are delivering is more interesting to people, and they pick up on the vibe that,
that you're really enjoying
the enthusiasm
this.
about it. And I think it's easier for them to kind of get into it then, and I try and make it a little bit more fun, especially with the Pilates where it is hard work, and you know, try and add a little bit of humour in and keep people going. So that they're kind of still fresh and still enjoying it and still wanting to come back.
Fantastic. So just skipping back slightly, did you leave the corporate world and then start pursuing the training and getting all accredited up and all of those things,
so
or did you try and
for people?
I was going to say, or did you try and do it alongside?
So I ate through quite a bit of the savings that I'd saved up while I had a corporate job, whilst I was going off and doing my training and looking for premises. And
so you actually left
I actually
work.
Went the whole hog, and I think
it
depends kind of. I think it depends. I think I knew I didn't have enough mental energy to do both for a while. And I think...
Or time, probably.
Yeah, time and mental energy. So I kind of felt like I'd got to go the whole hog. I mean, maybe if people are not doing that during, you know, a global pandemic, it might be a little bit easier to
navigate.
To get things running quicker than happened for me. But so it kind of, it depends whether you've got the appetite to kind of go cold turkey and just chop your income off. And then go for it. And have a total career change, or to go the safer route, which is to kind of try and, you know, start it as a side hustle and then build it up and then gradually tail off. You know, whatever it is that you're doing now, really. But
you went...
I went for it.
You went badass.
It's not without its challenges. So I am kind of living with my parents at the moment now, because, you know, financially it hit me too hard to be able to keep paying a mortgage. And to do what you're passionate about. But hopefully I'll live like a normal adult again at some point.
Don't rush. There's a lot to be said for living with the parents.
To be fair, there's you know, the only challenge is the bathroom.
The bathroom situation.
Too many queues for the bathroom. But other than that, we're all right.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. And you've got dog sitters on hand.
Yes.
So... one of my questions was, has mind and body wellness always been a big part of your life? And you said that you found yoga in your 20s.
Yeah. So
and then went back to it in your 30s.
We had an amazing teacher Virgin gym at the time that I went to, and but she only taught one class a week there, and I really loved her teaching, and I used to go to that class and I loved it. But then it ended up that I was actually riding with a friend, and the only day that we could both do together was the same time as this class. So I kind of gave that up again without really wanting to, but you can't do everything all at the same time.
Yeah.
And so I kind of skipped away from it again, really. And the horse riding took over, for quite a few years. And then it was only when I kind of got to the point where I thought you need to really do something about your old granny body that I kind of got back into it again. But I think it was one of those things where you kind of go away from it because you let yourself, when you're stressed, when you're tired, when you're so busy, and this happens all the time, this is a really classic thing that you actually let the thing go that is the thing that helps you the most.
Yeah.
And quite often, people will come and do yoga for a while, and then they'll say, I'm just too busy, I can't fit everything in. And this is not an essential thing. So it's the one that kind of gets put to the wayside. But actually, for most people, that's probably the one thing that they should prioritise and try and let go of some of the other stuff that isn't kind of helping them as much.
Because that might be one of the things that is helping them stay sort of balanced and productive and all of those other benefits that come with looking after yourself.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of those things that's hard, and it happens quite a lot. And I think people see self-care as being a little bit selfish, but actually something that an analogy I really like is, when you're on the plane and they talk about what happens in an emergency, that you are told to always put your own oxygen mask on first before you help anyone else. And I think kind of wellness is a little bit like that, really, that if you're not well, then you're not able to help anyone else around you. And if you've got care and responsibilities, you've got work responsibilities, you kind of need to be well in yourself to be able to fulfill them to the best of your ability. And if you don't look after yourself first, then you can't be doing the best job that you can in those other
for other people, or other things. Yeah, 100%. You've got to be strong and fighting fit yourself, haven't you, to be able to achieve and manage all of the things that you've got on your plate.
And quite often people get into this kind of vicious circle. You get really run down, you get ill, you feel even worse, but you keep plodding on and, pushing through it and carrying on with work, with all your responsibilities. And actually that just makes everything worse. And again, I think maybe COVID helped us a little bit in that people saw the benefit of just slowing down and saying no to things. I think people have slipped back into some of those bad habits again of being the person that says yes to everything and does everything. And, but actually there's a hell of a lot of benefit of saying, no, I need to slim this out. I need to postpone that. I need to do whatever I need to do to take some time for me.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And very often people will come to a class and say, I felt like I'd had a terrible day at work. I just felt like I couldn't do it. And then I made myself come and I feel so much better. And I feel I'm really glad that I did. My headache's gone or whatever it might be. And, I feel much better now. Yeah. But it's just kind of that first bit of making yourself do the thing that's going to help you, really, I think.
Yeah. So personally speaking, body and mind wellness, it sounds like it's really important to you. What do you feel like the benefits are for you?
For me, body wise, I think, you've kind of got to be strong to be able to do what I'm doing and to help other people. I think my posture, when I worked in an office, my posture was terrible, and I actually had to go see a physio at one point because I'd started getting pain and problems around the front of my neck and around my collarbones. And when I went to the physio, I had to sit on the couch, and he was like, "Do you sit like that all the time?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he was like, "Well, like this." And I was like, "Am I?" And he was like, "Yeah." And then when he actually put me in the correct position, it felt really weird. And the exercises that I had to do were all about lengthening into the back of the neck. And
I feel like I'm really mindful about how I'm sitting now.
And because you just get into that kind of like into staring at your desk like this. Like these were being stretched further than they should be, the muscles around the front, and then the muscles in the back of the neck were being shortened. So they were learning that it was okay to be shorter, and then you're in that kind of head forward position.
Yeah.
The majority of the population have got quite poor posture, and like Pilates particularly helps very much with that. And there's about 1 million other benefits from reducing. Lots of people have lower back niggles, and again, that's usually caused by poor posture. There's kind of improvements to concentration, your proprioception of how where your body is in space compared to where your brain thinks it is, and coordination, improving balance, core strength. Not only then helps with the posture, again helps with any problems with backs and supporting backs. It's
kind of loads of benefits.
So many benefits,
and you've seen a lot of those personally yourself.
Yeah, and I think Pilates is quite unique in that it's one of the only forms of exercise that's recommended for anyone from kind of teenagers through to people of any age. From kind of elite sports people through to people that are recovering from injuries. So it's kind of one of the broadest recommendations in terms of being beneficial for your health, people as you age, because it's low impact. There's no impact on joints. So it's really, really, a kind of widespread benefiting practice. And it's also one of the only forms of exercise that helps your muscles to lengthen as they're being strengthened. Whereas kind of running, other things that are good for kind of fitness, like running, cycling, playing sports and weightlifting or any kind of working out with weights, they actually help your muscles to gain strength, but they usually shorten the muscles as well, which then leads to a lack of flexibility, a lack of a range of motion. Whereas with Pilates, I'm not sure the science understands why. If so, I've not seen that. But it is proven that as well as strengthening your muscle, it will actually lengthen as well. So particularly for men who, especially if they've played sport or those sorts of things, and naturally tend to be a little bit tighter and less flexible than women, it's a good way of working the muscles, but without them becoming shorter and reducing flexibility.
Wow. Interesting.
It's my mission to get men into it, because they all think it's a little bit like just lying down. But it's a really good workout, and it's it's really beneficial, like I say, because men tend to be less flexible than women. It helps them to build strength, but also to build flexibility. So
brilliant.
It's kind of a myth I'm trying to break down.
Crack.
That it's kind of either they think it's too easy. They think it's just stretching, which is more what yoga is generally, the way it's generally practiced. You can do lots of strength work in yoga, but most classes tend to focus on the flexibility side. So I'm trying to get them there.
Yeah, get the men in. Well, actually, this is helpful for my next question, really. Thinking about the difference then for people that may or may not know, what is the difference between yoga and Pilates? And also, can you talk to us a little bit about sound baths?
Yes, absolutely. So in terms of yoga and Pilates, I think the main point is that Pilates is primarily focused on strengthening and working out your body. So it's more of an exercise regime. Yoga, kind of, in the Western world, we do mainly think about yoga as being a physical practice, but actually the physical postures in yoga are only a very small part of that way of living, if you like. And yoga encompasses kind of all sorts, from the actual physical practice, meditation, breathing, but also it's kind of a way of living as well. So, there's a lot about the ethics and the way that you participate in the world, really. Kind of like non-harm to yourself or any other living being, and, the way that you view that. actually, if you look back into the history of yoga, then the physical postures were actually developed because people didn't have the flexibility to sit in a kind of meditative position for hours.
Right.
Because, you know, a lot of the kind of original gurus of yoga would spend like the whole day in meditation.
Yeah.
So there was the fact that people couldn't actually sit like that for a whole day. And then also, it actually, if you just sit and try and meditate, most people find it really, really hard. The energy in your body is kind of too fidgety, so you can't relax, you can't switch off. And if you have done your physical yoga practice before you try and meditate, usually your body is then ready to be still. You're more likely. You've kind of got rid of that energy. You're more likely to be able to sit there in stillness and allow yourself to get deeper into that meditation. Yoga also kind of tends to focus more on the flexibility than it does on strength. There are some styles of yoga that are very strong and are kind of quite intense, and you need to have strength to be able to practice them. But I would say generally the focus is kind of more on the flexibility and the kind of opening up of the body and the breath work than it is on building strength.
Right.
You know, there are kind of different styles and different elements, but they're kind of generally the general differences. And I mean, I tend to have my Pilates classes that kind of, if you like, sort of almost finish with 5-10 minutes of yoga at the end, if or more, that kind of style. Pilates, traditionally, you kind of walk in, you start standing up, you get to it, you do your exercises, and then you stand up and, you know, walk off. There's not really a lot of stretching. There's not really any chance for your body and your mind to wind down. But I think, you know, the origins of Pilates were in rehabilitation after injury, and it was started by Joseph Pilates, who was actually a German who was interred during the First World War. And he had quite a history of illness as a child and had totally changed his body by combinations of kind of yoga, boxing, all sorts of other practices, and had become kind of really quite strong.
Yeah.
So he was helping other people in the internment camp. Some of them were injured soldiers, to actually come back to life, if you like.
Yeah.
He originally called it contrology. So you were controlling your body through these different practices. So that kind of started off all about the physical. But I think if we look at the differences in the average person since we, you know, were kind of 100 and whatever years ago that was developed, then most people are super stressed.
Yeah.
So doing a kind of quite intense Pilates class where your body is working quite hard and then just walking straight out the room, to me, is not the right thing to do. And probably if I hadn't trained in yoga before I trained in Pilates, I wouldn't think like that.
Yeah.
But I think that the benefits of allowing your body and your nervous system to reset and to come back to calm before you go back out into the outside world is really important. And I think, you know, a lot of clients who've been to other Pilates classes and then come to mine say that they enjoy and appreciate the benefits of that. So
the chance of that.
I think that works quite well, personally. And if you've only got a chance to do one a week, you know, you're getting a little bit of the benefits of both then by doing that. Obviously, the ideal is that you get time to do all of it.
Yeah.
But, you know, the average person hasn't got time to do everything millions of times a week. But yeah, so I think that's very much the difference between, and I think if you're primarily coming at it from, you know, strength, balance, all that kind of stuff, Pilates is probably your main port of call. If your main focus is flexibility or the benefits to your mind, your breath work, your relaxation, your meditation, then I think that yoga is kind of your first starting point. Yeah.
But actually, they can really complement each other if you can do both. Yeah. Not at once, but, you know, do a couple a week or whatever. They complement each other.
Yeah. And actually, this is jumping ahead a little bit to one of your other topics, I think, but about what's next. I'd like to do a yoga Pilates class. So that's kind of where you basically do kind of probably
hybrid.
maybe half an hour of Pilates and half an hour of yoga. And, you know, sometimes you might just do Pilates and then yoga. Other times it might be mixed up where you do a little bit of this, you switch to yoga for a bit, you come back and do a bit more Pilates. Because again, for some people that can't fit both in, then that's a really great way to do a little bit of a mixture.
Because they both have different benefits, don't they?
Yeah.
Like some strands that are similar, but they both have very different benefits by the sounds of it.
And I think also some of the actual, well, they're called postures in yoga and they're called exercises in Pilates, and people might recognise them as being the same thing. So for an example, bridge exercise, a lot of people are familiar with, where you have your feet flat down on the floor, knees bent, and you start to lift your hips up. And you see that people doing that quite a lot in gyms and things like that. And it is kind of the same movement, but it's practiced very differently in Pilates and yoga. So in yoga, you kind of lift your hips up and you stay there and you keep breathing in and out and you hold it. And then eventually you come out of it. In Pilates, it's all about the movement. So we're using the muscles to control the movement and the articulation of the spine as you come up and as you come down, and we're keeping kind of control, stability of the pelvis, levelness of the pelvis, and you're kind of really working your glutes to keep moving your hips up and down and keep doing repetitions of that. So it's kind of, you know, if somebody just walks along and sees somebody with their hips in the air, it looks like they're doing the same thing, but it's practiced very, very differently. Yeah. And in yoga, it's kind of all about the stretching of certain muscles and holding it there, whereas in Pilates, it's all about trying to gain strength in the muscles. And there are the benefits that being in that position will help you increase the flexibility too, but the main focus is building that strength.
Yeah.
Particularly, you know, the kind of biggest muscles in your body, your glutes, your quads, and your core muscles. So by building strength in those biggest muscles, we're doing kind of the best job of allowing them to hold your body. And I think for anyone that's not practiced Pilates before, this is kind of not a technical way of describing it at all, but the only way I can kind of describe it, if I've had like a few weeks where I've not been very well and haven't done my own practice, is that your body goes back to feeling like it's kind of just all floppy.
Yeah.
And then once you really get back into your Pilates practice again, it kind of feels like all the muscles are kind of activated again and working and holding your body where it actually should be, and actually supporting your skeleton rather than your skeleton kind of being all loose and just, you know, not with nothing to support it really.
Yeah, feels more like you're moving with purpose.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we all need
like
a bit
you're holding yourself in the way that you should be. Yeah,
I could do with a bit of that.
Yeah, and it is funny. That's the only way I can think of to describe it really.
Yeah,
it's
like, a slurp.
A slurp. Yeah.
And then talk to us about sound baths.
So sound baths are really exciting. I always joke that they're kind of one of the most popular things that I do, basically because you just get to lie there and I do the hard work. Yeah. Whereas obviously with Pilates, you know, people are having to work quite hard themselves. With a sound bath, you know, you just come in and lie down and, you know, you let the sound of the instruments help you to kind of meditate, if you like. And that's, you know, the whole point of it really, because traditional meditation is actually quite hard. Most people, you know, if you sit there and say, let's meditate, all most people can think of is, oh, like I can hear the sound of a lorry going past. Or I remember I did my yoga teacher training in London and there was a tube line that ran underneath the yoga studio. And, you know, like you'd be there with your eyes closed and every now and then there's a rumble of this train going under. And it's really hard to kind of not to get distracted by things like that. And thinking about, right, how long have I got to do this for? That's kind of the general thing of, you know, how people feel if you try and kind of force them, if you like, to meditate. And, oh, when this is over, I need to go and get a loaf of bread from the shop and all that kind of stuff. What's for tea?
Yeah, where have the kids got to be?
Yeah, I need to remember to do that for tomorrow or something like that. And it's really hard and it takes a lot of discipline to actually progress with meditating well. And I think scientifically there are loads of benefits, loads of proven benefits of adopting a meditation practice, but most people haven't got the discipline to do it because they find it uncomfortable. And I admit I don't do traditional meditation very often. There are other forms of guided meditation that I do quite a lot, but actually just sitting there. Usually, the dog's coming up and hitting your leg and wanting you to throw the ball for him, all those kind of things that make it really difficult. And there's a saying that a sound bath takes you to where 20 years of meditation practice does. Because what we're trying to do is to take our mind to a fourth state of consciousness. So you've got kind of like awake and aware, asleep and dreaming. And then you've got this fourth state, which is, it's not awake and it's not asleep. So we're in just like this really peaceful, quiet mind position.
Like the sweet
spot. And it is this kind of, like if you drew a line and like up here is awake and below here is asleep, you're kind of trying to surf that line. And it's really hard because most people are either awake and aware and thinking, or they go below the line and drop into sleep. But the reason why we're trying to stay in that in-between state is because your body and your mind are thought to be able to heal themselves more effectively even than when you're asleep, because when you're asleep your brain is actually quite active. So this kind of, it's called, quite often referred to as deep rest, that when we're in that deep rest state, that actually your body and your mind are much more able to then refresh and for you to feel amazing afterwards.
Wow.
It can be quite hard, but in the same way as, so there are other forms of guided meditation that I offer as part of my yoga classes, and also some of the kind of like half day and full day retreats that I do, called Yoga Nidra, and that is a guided meditation. So instead of sort of following the sound of the instruments, then you follow the sound of my voice, and there are kind of different sections within a structured practice where you might focus on breathing for a while, and then we do like a rotation of awareness around the body where you try and bring your awareness to your ear and then to your shoulder, and then working all the way around the body. And again, the brain goes into that same brain state of awake and asleep. There are more kind of documented scientific benefits for that than there are for sound baths, but they are very, very similar benefits.
Right.
And all sorts of things, from kind of increasing creativity. So quite often people will go and do a guided meditation. Then if you've got something creative that you need to write or drawing or any of those things, going off and doing that. And it's proven that you will be and find it easier to be more creative afterwards. But also one of the biggest kind of benefits is your brain's ability to view something, not necessarily dispassionately, but possibly to view something slightly more positively than if you would. So there's usually a section that we call opposites. So you might imagine being really, really hot, imagine being really cold, light, dark, all those sorts of things. And switching your brain's attention between opposites and extremes of things makes you kind of view things as less extreme. So particularly if you're going through something difficult in your life and that kind of thing, this keep regularly practicing helps you to kind of view things a little bit more, it's not dispassionately, but it's maybe just, I don't know how to describe it, less extreme,
black and white,
and for you to have a less extreme emotional reaction to whatever it is that's going on. Which is really quite powerful. And actually I'm surprised, based on the science behind it, that there hasn't been more kind of like general awareness of it and more general practicing of it in everyday lives, because it is really powerful and
has a lot of benefits. And even if you don't have the need to awaken creativity or be less extreme in your thinking, just the luxury of the pure relaxation and how you feel during and after is just kind of dreamy.
There's lots of examples of where people have said that's the first time I've actually felt truly relaxed for years. Hopefully a few of my clients won't mind me sort of sharing some examples, but one of my clients, she runs a business, she's got 2 children with special needs, and she's kind of got a mind herself that is always on the go. And she said when she comes to the sound bath, it's like the only time you know, she usually comes to one a month, and it's the only time in that month that I can feel my mind actually letting go.
Oh, wow.
And that's a really powerful thing.
Yeah.
And then there's also kind of another really powerful example of that's the yoga nidra. But again, it's kind of very similar for the sound baths in terms of the brain state. But a client of mine has got post-traumatic stress disorder, and she had to have a MRI scan on her leg. And when they first talked about having to have an MRI, she said, I am only going to go up into, you know, like it's only my leg or kind of like halfway of my body that's going to go in. And they were like, yeah. She turned up to the appointment and they put her in it totally, and she had a massive panic attack and had to come out. And she really, really gets into the yoga nidra, and so much so that when we come to the end of the practice, it's like she's kind of glued to the floor because her body is kind of just totally relaxed so much that it's gone immobile.
Wow.
And it takes her a while to come around from it. And I said to her, right, you get so deep into this practice that you know that your body can relax that much, so we need to practice you. And I've got some recordings that I let her have of practices that we'd already done, and it was my voice. You know that kind of my voice is then that kind of safe space, and you know that you can go into that really deep state between awake and asleep. So you need to take a recording with you and do it and tell them, because apparently I've never been for an MRI, thankfully. They'll keep like being like, oh, we need to do a few more scans, we need to do a few more pictures, this, that and the other, and keep talking to you. And I was like, tell them not to talk to you.
Yeah.
You are trying to take yourself into this state and you don't want to be disturbed. Listen to it beforehand. So go in early, go into the waiting room, listen to it, go through. You're already in that relaxed state, and then listen to it again once you get in.
Yeah.
And she went in and did everything that I told her to do, and then they actually were kind of shaking her and saying, you know, it's over now.
Oh my God.
And she was like, what do you mean? I told you not to talk to me. And they were like, it's done. So she'd been in there for like 40 minutes or whatever it was, and gone off into this other place.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, particularly if you are suffering from some form of anxiety or something like that, to be able to have something that lets you
go into that state,
go into another place. And actually it's something that I'm quite passionate about, really, because I'm not very good with anything like needles or anything like that.
No, me neither.
I have to try and take myself off to another place. And you know, I thought, how many people actually turn up to an appointment and go without having the treatment because you know, it's too much, it's all too you know, it sets off like a panic attack. So
but if you've got this to be able to
something that would allow people to, you know, I feel like there needs to be a bit more.
It should be on the NHS.
Yeah, of the softer stuff, because it's all very clinical and it's get people in and get people out.
Yeah.
But I think there needs to be a little bit of a halfway house that allows people, you know, a bit more of the kind of the skills that they need
to be able to
breathe,
take
themselves off into this other place to deal with whatever is happening.
Gosh,
so
it's groundbreaking.
Yeah, it's a really kind of powerful.
It's groundbreaking.
Powerful practice, really.
So you mentioned day retreats. Just tell us a little bit about what they are.
So that is a whole day that is dedicated to your wellness, and probably for a lot of people the only time that anybody is looking after themselves. And so when we do kind of like either an hour's yoga practice, we do kind of 45 minutes yoga nidra, and we do an hour sound bath. They're all kind of lovely individual things to do. But when you kind of layer them on top of each other, it makes it even more powerful. And I think, you know, we talked about if you've done your yoga practice before you do your meditation practice, it will be a lot easier and you'll get much more out of your meditation practice. So we're kind of alternating between things. So we'll do kind of a yoga, then we'll do a meditation, a deep guided meditation. Then we're going to have a healthy lunch, followed by some cake, because there's got to be a bit of balance that I baked, and then again we'll go back into doing a different style of yoga, a slower style. There's a style of yoga called yin, which is actually not traditional yoga originates from India. Yin yoga is kind of a little bit more based on the principles of reflexology. Done the mic.
Bang, bang.
So you've got like these meridians that come through the body. And so it's kind of like more like Chinese medicine almost.
Ah, right.
And again, a lot of the postures are very similar, but they're practiced quite differently. So the focus is on the fascia that kind of runs around all your muscles and ligaments, and it's almost like cling film wrapped around everything. And for that to actually stretch and release, you need to hold a stretch for longer. That could be quite intense if you're kind of trying to force yourself into it. So what we tend to do is to kind of get into that posture and then try and allow gravity to take its course. Usually you might have some kind of supports like blocks or cushions or bolsters and things like that, so that you can actually kind of get into it and relax and let your body let go. Because there is a kind of school of thought that quite often in more traditional yoga you will try and kind of like force yourself into a stretch.
Yeah.
And your body can actually do the opposite of that, because your nervous system thinks, actually, I'm not sure if that's safe.
Yeah.
You know, she's about to pull a muscle or something like that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to stop that from happening by tensing up. So sometimes if people try and go a little bit too far in kind of a normal yoga practice, this is quite a good way of doing it, because you can't hold a stretch like that for minutes. It's just not possible, because it's just too intense to do that. Whereas if you kind of say the whole point of this is that we're going to relax into it, we're going to let go of everything, then actually sometimes people do not force themselves, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
The only challenge with the slower style is that sometimes people feel a bit like they've got too much time to think.
Right.
But again, if we're practicing that after we've already let everything go earlier on during the day, it's kind of easier to get into that mindset than it is just walking straight from work into a class and being expected to do that.
Yeah.
So that's why it's quite powerful to do it as part of the day retreat.
Lovely.
And then we're going to finish with a sound bath.
Wow. That's nice. That sounds delightful.
My only concern is just kind of like waking everyone up and getting everyone aware enough at the end of it so that they can drive home safely. Yeah. So I kind of normally have a little bit at the end where, you know, we just mill around having a bit of a chat, letting people come back a bit before they go.
That sounds lovely.
Yeah. And
really nice.
There's actually, if you go onto my website, there's actually a blog about the power of taking time to retreat from your everyday life. So that goes into a bit more detail. And kind of residential retreats are a really, really powerful thing for people to do. But because of everything that's provided and the accommodation, it's pretty expensive to go. Sometimes even for 3 days, it's really quite expensive, and most people can't afford to do that. But by offering something that is kind of like just for the day, and then you've not got accommodation costs, it's much more affordable for people
and more accessible, for people to be able to dip in and do that, rather than a massive logistics of how am I going to get away for a few days. They can just dip in and do
and
a day.
Also for people who've got responsibilities, caring for kids, for parents, whatever it might be, it's easier for you to escape between 11 and 5 than it is for you to go away for a few days. And
absolutely.
So I think it's a really it's a really great thing to do. And I think for me it's really lovely to kind of be able to provide that, because knowing how kind of stressful people's jobs are and home lives and trying to do everything, it's really nice to feel like you've helped people to let go of all that.
You've given someone the gift of
a
whole day worth of relaxation and connection.
And quite often people kind of almost forget who they are. They have the whole, this is like the work version of me, this is the home version, this is, there could be all these different kind of hats that people have got to wear, and actually they forget who they are and what they need. And by taking some time away from your everyday life, it actually allows you to kind of, it sounds a bit hippie, but get back in touch with yourself. And
absolutely.
And also I think it reaffirms to people why they need to take that time for themselves when they feel so much better. And therefore it helps them to think, no, it's not selfish, I need it, and I'm going to make sure that I plan this time in for me. And
putting their own gas mask on first.
Yes, exactly, definitely.
So what advice would you have for someone that's kind of listening to this and thinking, I feel like I'm at the point where I need to start finding something for myself and my wellness journey, but they just don't know where to begin? What would you say?
Well, I think it depends what it is that they are looking for. If they are looking for the mental benefits, those mindfulness elements of it, then I would say definitely start looking into those kind of meditation practices, the sound bath. I think the other part of that is that if there are people with injuries, physical challenges, you know, like coming and lying down at the sound bath doesn't involve you actually doing anything. So, you know, that's still accessible in that way. If it's more the physical side of the fact that they feel like they need to kind of build strength, then, you know, I would definitely explore Pilates. Yeah. And I think that, I think when you kind of start to feel stronger physically, it also has the knock-on effect of helping people improve confidence and their self-image and their self-awareness and self-love. Because I think, again, usually it's the kind of thing that goes out the window first, and people get a little bit to the point where they've spent lots of years not doing any exercise, putting everyone else before themselves, and then they start to kind of lack confidence both in how they feel and look, but also in their ability to do things. And I've got a client who's in her 60s, and she first kind of came to a Pilates class, basically I think because her daughter had twisted her arm into it. And she kind of came in being like, first of all, she emailed me, wasn't sure whether she'd be able to do any of it, da-da-da-da. And then I'm like, yeah, come along. Because for every class that I do, I kind of offer a basic option for something, and then I offer lots of ways that you can make it harder if you're ready to. Yeah. So the good thing about it is that you can have a whole class of people who could be working at a different level. But this client in particular, and you can see a transformation in just kind of a couple of months of her becoming stronger, and that translating into a confidence. Because nice. When she first kind of walked in, she was sort of hiding and, you know, a little bit apologetic for being there and, you know, not very confident in herself. And now she comes in every week and, you know, you can tell the difference. Yeah. And that's also really nice. Her, you know, chatting to other people, and it's just a really nice kind of thing of seeing people change and start to believe in themselves a bit more again.
That's nice.
But if they've got any kind of questions about what they think is right for them, then I'm always happy to have a chat with people and or for people to come along and try one or both, like Pilates and yoga, if they're not sure in between them, before they decide, you know, which they would like
where they want to pursue. That's nice. Yeah. So how can people get in touch with you then?
So my website is www.wellness-with-lou.com. And so if they go on there, there's got all the contact details on that they can contact me that way.
Instagram?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook. So on Instagram, it's wellness_with_Lou. And Facebook, it's just Wellness with Lou. Yeah. So you can contact me via either of those as well. But the best thing to do is get yourself down.
Just
and
try
give
it.
It a go.
Try it. But you can answer any questions.
Yeah.
So what's next then? Wellness with Lou.
What's next is I'd like to continue to grow all of those different things. Yeah. I'd like to start offering kind of different style of classes. There's all sorts of different things like kind of Pilates HIIT. Over the summer, I'm going to be... we did one last weekend doing yoga on Alice Street Park at the weekend. Oh,
nice.
Obviously, that's all very weather permitting.
Oh, that's nice, though.
Last year, every time the weather looked like it was going to be good enough, I'd already got something that I'd committed to work-wise already, so I couldn't do it. But
the joys of the great British weather.
I feel like I'm going to be positive that this year we're going to have a bit of a better summer. Yeah. So I'm hoping that we're going to do that a little bit more. So again, kind of, if people let me know that they're interested in that, I can let them know. It's a case of kind of looking at the weather and being like, okay,
this weekend
it's looking
looks
good this weekend, so we'll go for it. But yeah, so, and maybe, a few different styles of classes. It just kind of depends what people want, really, and how they feel, how much people want to do more of the relaxation stuff, how much people want to, push it and work hard, and that kind of thing, really. So if there's anything anyone's interested in that doesn't seem to be a class available anywhere, then do let me know.
Like the yoga lattes.
Yeah, like the yoga lattes. So I'm thinking.
But there really is something for everyone, isn't there? So just get in touch.
Yeah, definitely. And I do, I work in kind of blocks of classes for, other than the kind of yoga on the park, because that's so weather dependent.
Yeah.
Where we kind of run in like roughly 10-week blocks, and people pay up front for the block. But I'm happy for people to come and pay for one and try it before they decide whether they want to sign up.
Yeah.
But I found that works really well for everyone. It works well for me because it's less accounting and less having to write out every individual payment about who paid me for which class on what date and all that kind of stuff. And that otherwise that kind of involves, a full-time job doing the bookkeeping. But also I found that it works really well in other ways, because when people have already paid, those days where they do come home and would have thought, I really can't be bothered to go, there's much more incentive to go. Obviously, the more you come, the more benefit you get. So then you start to see the differences and the progress.
It's like that accountability.
Yeah, and that motivates you to come even more. And also the other thing is, it's nice to have the same group of people every week. When you work by yourself, it is quite boring. I don't have colleagues, so it's really nice to have the same group of clients and for them to get to know each other. I'm hoping to start doing a few more kind of like more social things for clients as well, so they get to have longer chatting. Sometimes I feel like it's a bit of an interruption when I'm like, right, we're going to start now, and everyone's too busy chatting to each other.
Hang on, we were just enjoying.
I feel a bit bad. I feel a bit bad, like sorry, I'll have to wait. So then they can just kind of chat unhindered. So maybe like
a walk, social,
a walk and a coffee afterwards, and those kind of things. A bit of a social side. And also it's easier for me to plan where I know that someone's got some sort of injury or health challenge, then I can plan ahead. If I'm planning one exercise for the group that I think is not appropriate for that person, then I can plan an alternative for them. Whereas if it's just a different group of people with every single class, then it's really quite hard to do that. And then the other thing is, even if people have, so for example, signed up for like the Tuesday Pilates, if they can't make it that week, they can swap onto like the Thursday Pilates, or they could swap onto yoga as well. So there are options. And I also record the classes that I do so that people can do them from home as well. So even if you can't make it, you can do it. But I do have some clients who will come and do the class in person, and then they'll do the class from the recording at home as well.
Oh, brilliant.
And that's brilliant, because the more people do, the more progress they make.
So tons of flexibility. Yeah, brilliant. Definitely something for everyone.
I want people to get doing it and get the benefits and see the improvements.
Well, you've heard it here, guys. Loads of benefits with yoga, Pilates and sound baths. So we need to get doing it. We need to do it a bit more.
And if anybody's got any, I've got quite a few clients who've then come to a sound bath or one of the kind of half-day retreats who've then said, actually, I think we should put something on at my place of work or something like that. Then I'm happy to come and do that. And they're great. Especially at the end of the day at work, switching from work, doing that, and then really switching off and relaxing, and then
what a great idea.
Home. So,
again, that should be something that's like
and really, to be honest, most employers should probably be kind of putting these sorts of things
to look after their staff
regularly.
Oh, fantastic. Well, that all sounds brilliant. So thank you so much for all of that information. I feel much more informed now, and I hope you guys do too. So just before we wrap up, the good, the bad, the ugly. You did mention it earlier. So tell me, what's been good, bad or ugly?
This is not, I suppose, really recent. So my little miniature poodle Bobby, he fits into all three categories of the good, the bad and the ugly, and quite often all three of those in the same day. He's I think probably more work than if I'd have had a child. We had him basically because my mum had a miniature poodle when she was young, when she was a teenager, and her cousins and aunt and uncle had the brother of the one that they had, and they were both the most perfectly behaved dogs. And easy to train, all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of what we thought we were getting, and instead we've just got an insane monster.
Oh my
god! So
gosh.
he's nearly 3. We're kind of getting there with him now, but it's been a hard 3 years.
Oh wow!
We still haven't left him on his own.
Right.
He's got separation anxiety. Yeah. The only time we leave him is when he goes to the groomers. He's actually been there this morning, and you have to actually drag him out of the car to get in there.
He don't want to go.
He doesn't want to go, and he cries, and it's all very upsetting. And you
gosh.
feel really awful leaving him there. Like this little crybaby. But yeah, he's a nightmare, but he's adorable.
So he's lovely, but he fits into the good, the bad, and the ugly.
He does. We've had loads of problems with him.
Although maybe not so ugly now. He's been to the groomers this morning.
He's very cute. Yeah, yeah, we've had lots of problems with him biting, and again, I think that's related to the anxiety.
Oh.
And so yeah, you love him, but he's
hard work.
It hurts.
Yeah, hard work.
Hurts.
Oh
Yeah,
my
definitely
gosh.
hard work.
Well, I've got one of the pods is going to be a dog trainer.
Okay.
So there you go. Watch out for that one.
To be fair, we've got there with a lot of the problems, but
well, he sounds lovely, but good, bad, and a bit naughty.
Bad and a bit naughty, definitely. Yeah.
And then last but not least, ask me anything.
So I thought I'd keep it themed and ask you what you think that you're doing that works really well for your own wellness, and what you need to improve on.
Oh, that's a really good question. So for my own wellness, I do a lot of sort of classes and exercise, which is just something that's always been a big part of my life, really. But it's kind of one of those things that's now a routine and it's a need. And if I don't do it, or I miss a few days or a week or whatever, I can tell, and so can other people. So I definitely do classes and working out and exercise for my own head as well as body. Yeah. But what I need to be doing more of is probably more probably everything that we've talked about. I've been doing like HIIT and running and like jumping around, sweating like a mad woman for years now, and I probably could do with getting into the more yoga-y sound bath type of thing. I have dabbled in yoga a little bit, and I'm not at all flexible or stretchy, so that's a sign that I know I need to get into more that side of things, especially not that I'm really old, but age and things do start slowing down and stuff like that. And so this has definitely inspired me a little bit to think more about other practices that I can introduce into my life, and hopefully other people as well.
Yeah. And I think once you do start getting into it, like you said, you can tell the difference yourself when you either have to you're not very well or whatever, or you're just really busy and you can't fit it in. You actually really notice the difference.
Oh yeah, and so do other people. Stu's like, are you going to the gym later?
Yes, please go to the gym.
Which is a sign
I don't want my head ripping off.
You're a nightmare. Go and get rid of some energy.
And it is amazing, isn't it, how releasing that energy just helps.
It really helps. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you. You've definitely given me a lot of food for thought, and hopefully other people as well. So thank you so much for your time.
You're very welcome.
And for coming on. It's exciting.
Give me a shout if anybody wants to chat all things wellness
with Lou. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Bye.